The FDA wants to fast-track the Pfizer COVID shot for children under 5. What's the rush?
They say it's safe and effective. How do we know?
What if they're wrong?
Over 1 million injuries?
2 failed clinical trials.
9 pages of adverse events.
Who is accountable?
What about myocarditis in children?
Could my grandbaby's heart be injured?
How is this affecting my baby's brain?
Can you be sure this won't cause future infertility?
Is this going to affect our children's mental health?
Will the science change again?
My healthy baby does not need these shots.
When it's your child, it's not rare.
Where is the science? Where's the data?
It doesn't stop infection. It doesn't stop transmission.
I want to see long-term safety studies.
Didn't Pfizer pay the largest healthcare fraud settlement in history?
It's time to follow the science.
Emergency use authorization is not approval.
We make the decisions for our kids.
Parents deserve a seat at the table.
Protect the children.
We're here to put you on notice that you will not get away with this.
Moms are watching.
This mom is watching.
This mom is watching.
Fathers are watching.
This dad is watching.
This dad is watching.
This grandmother's watching.
This grandfather is watching.
This attorney is watching.
This lawyer is watching. Mental health professionals are watching.
Scientists are watching.
Doctors are watching.
Parents 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 are watching.
Millions are watching.
We are watching.
We are watching.
We are watching. And more importantly, God is watching.
The theme is that they're coming for the children, and we've got 2 different aspects of that today. One is about these vaccines, and this FDA meeting is going to take place, and the other is we're going to have Paulina, one of the fire breathers of the Trump movement, about going after Disney and all this. So it's a packed show today. Boris is going to join me as co-host, but I want to go to Stephanie Loccrichio, the head of advocacy and outreach for Children's Health Defense. And I've had so many compliments that we start to reinitiate really the push for everybody to read The Real Anthony Fauci. I've had a couple of people very close to me because the book is really a bill of indictment about Fauci. So when you get into it, you can't put it down. And people were blown away by the detail of what Fauci has done all his career, but particularly the way Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Children's Health Defense calls him out. So make sure you go to Amazon, The Real Anthony Fauci. We got a lot of announcements to make of what we're going to be doing with this book, some events we've got coming up in the weeks ahead, but I want everybody to get it first and read it, and then you can be an expert. You don't have to sit there and go, well, I heard this about Fauci, I heard this about Fauci. This is a very powerful spot, Stephanie Loccrichio. Tell us, why are you guys putting it up? What's the event that's coming up, and what do you need the War Room Posse to put their shoulder to the wheel? What do we have to do?
There's a couple of things happening, Steve. There's always something happening in the world of advocacy these days. So the first thing is, if you have not taken out your phone after watching that video, text the word FDA to 33777 and take against the upcoming FDA meeting to let them know that we're watching and that we need them to do their job to protect the children. There are no reasons whatsoever scientifically. It's not safe, it's not effective, it's not necessary for children at all, especially in this age bracket, 6 months to 5 years old. And we know that they're coming for the children, literally commoditizing their bodies to protect pharmaceutical companies from liability for the millions of people that have been injured, over 1.2 million to date, and 26,000 people and climbing every day that have been killed by this vaccine. And those are only the reported injuries. So we do not know what the long-term effects of this injection are going to be on our children, and we need to act now to stop the madness and to tell them that we are watching and we will not back down on this issue.
Okay, Stephanie, we have 2,500 War Room Posse working with Naomi Wolf and going through the Pfizer documents, the first tranche of 55,000. We've got 250 lawyers that have volunteered their time to go through this. You've got Ed Dowd, these other brilliant guys, Tom Renz, all these guys across the board that have been looking at this information. And yet I hear on the mainstream media on MSNBC and CNN, it's safe and effective, and that Children's Health Defense, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., you guys are nothing more than conspiracy theory wingnuts, and that all the science backs up Johns Hopkins and Baylor University and all these doctors that come on nonstop, every night, bang, 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 that these are safe and effective. And in fact, the biggest moral imperative we have, ma'am, is to get this into the bodies of 6-month-old babies to 5-year-olds. That's the number one thing we have to do now. What say you?
What says me is that the data is not on their side. If you go to our website right now, childrenshealthdefense.org, and you click on the tab, it's time to follow the science. We can show you the science that proves that this vaccine is not effective. There are so many studies that are cited that are not our studies. They're actually studies that are not funded by the pharmaceutical companies that are showing over and over again that not only are these injections not effective in preventing the spread and transmission of COVID-19, but they are also causing harm to our children. We're seeing that in Japan, 1 in 2,700 children are being diagnosed with myocarditis. For a virus that has virtually a 0 death rate in this age bracket, it is completely unacceptable to call this vaccine, this injection, I should say, safe or effective if one child is diagnosed with myocarditis. And we're also seeing in a recent study in the effectiveness of Pfizer's COVID vaccine that in 5 to 11-year-olds, it was only a 12% effective rate after a 7-week period of observation. So it's clearly not doing its job. And this huge push is nothing more than a marketing tactic. You know, what's happening in states like New York, where you have the children under 5 years old still being masked, is nothing more than a punitive measure to remind parents over and over again when this vaccine is available for children in that age bracket to take them to get this injection that can be free to breathe the fresh air again. But the truth is, on the page, I encourage you to go take a look. These are scientific studies that you all as parents need to look at. I encourage people to do your own research and not to trust the pharma machine that has bought every single media outlet that there is. They are commoditizing our children's bodies, and it is nothing more than the ability for them to profit off of 19 million children in this age bracket.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has challenged. He says he will debate any person with credentials on this topic. Has anybody taken Robert F. Kennedy Jr. up on that, ma'am?
No, nobody has taken them up on him yet.
Robert F. Kennedy makes, and the Children's Health Defense makes, essential charges saying that the big pharma are criminal institutions and that Tony Fauci's a criminal. You can't put any other nicer face on it. The book's The Real Anthony Fauci in this book is explosive. The charges in here are explosive. Has Anthony Fauci or Big Pharma sued Children's Health Defense or Robert F. Kennedy Jr. about the specific charges he makes in the book, ma'am?
To my knowledge, to this date, absolutely not.
What is I want everybody, because we have a huge podcast and radio audience that doesn't get to see the screen. So why did they have to text the FDA? What's happening? And then where should they go? We're going to put it up on all our platforms. So I want to make sure people hear from your voice. What's so important about what's happening? And then what's the call to action?
So the call to action is to start by texting FDA to 33777. And once you do this, you're going to be prompted to click on a link that with one click, you'll be able to email every single decision maker on the FDA, as well as your federally elected officials, to let them know that you oppose any authorization for this injection for the age group of 6 months to 5 years. With that being said, you can also take action on your social media platforms. You can tweet, you can do Facebook messages on Gab, and sign our petition. All of that will happen as soon as you text the word FDA to 33777. If you want to check out more information, you can go to the childrenshealthdefense.org page, and on the page you will see a tab that says Parents Are Watching, and there's much more information for you there.
What is your social media handles?
I'm at Stephanie Loccrichio on Facebook, at Steph Loccrichio on Twitter and Instagram, and at Wellness Warriors Revolution. Actually, at Wellness Warriors Revolution on Instagram. Sorry, Twitter is at Steph Loccrichio.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. And this weekend, don't forget April 10th, Defeat the Mandates in Grand Park, Los Angeles. If you're in and around the area, we will be there. Come stand with us, shoulder to shoulder, to stand against these mandates and protect our children.
Hold on. What day is that going to be?
That's April 10th, this Sunday, starting at noon in Grand Park in Los Angeles.
Okay. We will have more on that tomorrow. We'll get that up and make sure everybody knows about that. Defeat the mandates in Grant Park. In Grant Park, what park is it in L.A.?
Grand Park in Los Angeles.
Okay, perfect. On Sunday, we'll get more information. Stephanie, thank you very much. Is Boris up yet? Can Boris thank you. Boris, are you with me?
Boris.
We have Boris, you know, in Battleground, we take those districts that are in play. We take the secretaries of state, the attorney generals, everything from the races at the state level to the federal level. We also talk about policy, but every now and again, I want to show where the big muscles are of what's underpinning the potential for this massive sweep. And that's why today we start with about the mask and the vaccine mandates. We're now going to go to the border in a moment. We're going to have the fire breather, Ms. Luna, is going to, Paulina Luna is going to join us about her fight against Disney and what she's standing up this Friday. I want to bring in Todd Bensman. My co-host is Boris Epshteyn. I want to bring in Todd Bensman. Todd, we had on the earlier show Ben and Oscar down on the Mexican side of the Yuma border. It's insane right now what the number of people, the number of illegal aliens coming towards the United States. They're predicting 18,000 a day. You called this shot much earlier. I want to be specific about this change in federal regulations or federal rules that allows Border Patrol or just people they send down there to actually act as a judge and sign the asylum papers. And then folks are in the United States because nobody else is talking about this. Border Patrol is actually saying they're asking them to do it now. And Border Patrol agents say, no, we're not going to do this. We're too overwhelmed in our regular job and we don't think this is right. Walk people through specifically what's happening before we talk about this deal with the Cubans and the Nicaraguans.
Right. Well, the new rule change is in effect or will be in effect in about 55 days. And it's going to allow USCIS officers, I didn't hear about Border Patrol agents, but U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services adjudicators who normally do this. They do the credible fear interview. It's the very first screen before the thing goes into a judge a year or 5 years later. They're going to transfer that responsibility for stamping yes or no on the total asylum claim on these adjudicators. That means that they cross the border, an interview is conducted, and they either get asylum right there on the spot or in a week or two, or not. That cuts out U.S. immigration judges. It cuts out the whole process that was built in for this particular purpose, and it could go either way. I mean, for in the hands of, say, a Republican or Trump or somebody, you could have your adjudicators turn every single person down, and you can deport them. But if it's in the hands of pro-immigrant advocate types, it's every one of them could be a yes. Now, Chris Mangus, the CBP commissioner, put out a press release this morning talking about how they're getting ready for this massive surge at the border. And they talked about this. He put in there that they are going to use this new rule to help process migrants at the border. Now, my presumption is that they're going to use that to process them in. Everybody gets asylum. But it has occurred to me that if the administration, and maybe this is pie in the sky, okay, but if the administration is finding it too politically painful to have all these people in, they could have these adjudicators stamp no on every one of them. And they're talking about in the press release, in the statement, that they will be ramping up expedited removal deportation by air. So there's a part of me that's wondering that if they really wanted to tamp this thing down, they could use that new rule to do it. But I'm kind of more of a glass half empty on this whole thing. I think they're going to stamp them all in.
They're 100%. They're all liars. Come on, they've been planning this. Talk to me about this deal between Cuba was a Nicaragua. People remember in the opening of Scarface. If you've seen that movie about the Mariupol boat lift out of Cuba, This is what they're planning on now at the border right now, are they not, Todd Bensman?
Right. But before I get to that, I have a source who is telling me that the March numbers, the numbers of apprehensions for March, are going to be 217,000. That is the most in American history. Even in this border crisis, they haven't had that many. And 68,000 gotaways. So they're looking at, for the month of March, a huge number that were apprehended at the border. Okay, a great many of those are Cubans. Cubans are everywhere down there, and the reason why the Cubans are coming is because the Cuban government and the Ortega regime in Nicaragua cut a deal, visa-free travel by air from Havana to Nicaragua, and all these Cubans that you're seeing at the border, 40,000 just since they started doing this are coming by air through that. And there are tens of thousands lining for miles in the streets of Havana to get these air tickets. So it's just another huge source of illegal immigration from yet another country that had been sort of tamped down a little bit. They'll all be claiming asylum at the border when Title 42 goes down. But right now, we're letting them all in. Everybody gets released right now. They're so swamped down there at the border with the 217,000 that came in March that there's no process at all. They're all just being released under something called humanitarian parole. The Cubans aren't even being 42'd. They're not even using 42 right now. They're just letting everybody in. I expect that's the model that we're going to see when everything kind of ramps up. But look for a lot of Cubans as part of that.
Todd, how do people get to you on social media? What you're telling the nation is absolutely mind-blowing. We're going to have you back on tomorrow to go into more depth. 217,000 for the month of March. And all the years we've been fighting this is another record with 68,000 getaways. So 217,000, right, which half are going to get into the country, and 68,000 getaways. This is more than the landing at the beaches of Normandy. As I always say, this is sick, and they're laughing at us. Todd, how do people get to you on social media? Because they've got to follow you, because all night long you're putting up stats that just blow people's minds.
Yeah, I'm in Getter, T. Bensman at Getter, and you can see all my work. Those numbers are not official yet. CBP has not released them, but it's going to be in that neighborhood. Big numbers.
When do you expect them to be released, the numbers?
Probably in the next week or so. You'll start to see it.
Okay.
They're going to be big, though.
We got it.
So, yeah.
We got a scoop. Thank you, sir. Todd Bensman. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Boris, before I bring in Paulina Luna, who's from the free state of Florida, this is, as Trump would say, they're laughing at us right now. This nation, I don't care anymore to hear about Ukraine. That is a European problem. It's got to have a European solution without American cash. Okay? Without more spending on NATO, that's got to be European. The Germans got to stop buying the gas. The Austrians got to stop buying the gas. The French got to stop buying the natural gas. They ought to band together. If it's so upsetting, they got to solve it with Russia. They've been fighting in that thing for 5,000 years. Okay? We have an invasion of the southern border that is out of control, and it is going to wipe away the hardworking Hispanics on the southern border in South Texas. This is why the Hispanic vote's coming our way. Boris, the numbers, think about what we had to deal with in 2016 that Trump had to shut down. But because Biden's initiated and exacerbated this, it is the greatest invasion of the United States of America in our history, and this is going to be the first article of impeachment. Is it not, Boris Epshteyn?
Steve, no doubt about it. And here's the key. It's no longer that we have holes at the border. It's no longer that there are areas which are easier than others to get through. We don't have a southern border right now. We do not have a southern border right now. The country is wide open. And to those who are screaming and yelling, oh, you're all anti-immigrant, I'm an immigrant. My family waited for 2+ years, a long time, to follow the process to come here legally. And believe you me, the Hispanic population in this country, which has overwhelmingly come here legally, those legal immigrants, they do not sympathize or empathize with the illegal immigrants coming through the border. And by the way, it is not just about Latin America. It's not just about Mexico. It's about how do we think and how do we promise the American people even an iota of security if we have no handle whatsoever on who's getting into our country? Look at all of the security it takes to get onto a plane. But if you come at the southern border, you just get to walk right in. And it's about to get even easier with Title 42 going away because of the feckless, corrupt, cynical administration of Joe Biden. You know, I put on Getter, on all social media, the Graham Twitter yesterday, a picture of the gas pump after I filled up last night and said the key phrase: stolen elections have catastrophic consequences. Stolen elections have catastrophic consequences. And that's true at the pump. That's true at the border. That's true internationally. The fecklessness and the weakness of this regime cannot be overstated. And at one point, Steve, you've got to wonder whether these are just mistakes or is this a plan? Is this a coordinated attack by the Democrats, the liberals, the socialists on the very heart of our country, which is our security and our economic strength? Because you would have to be a gold star idiot, and you would have to be a historic level of impotence by this administration to do so many things wrong. So either they're that terrible or this is a cynical and coordinated attack on the United States. It starts at the border, continues at the pump, goes into inflation, goes into the supply chain, and goes into international failures. Historic failures in Afghanistan and now Ukraine. It actually is unprecedented. And again, we talk about all the time. It's not a joke.
Yeah.
James Buchanan is no longer the worst president, but it's not just the guy the occupant of the White House. It's Biden, but it's also his whole team who are disgusting.
His entire team. I want to bring in Anna Paulina Luna now. She's been motivated to run for office down in Florida 13. She's a fire breather in the Trump movement. Anna, is this one of the reasons this invasion of the southern United States, is this one of the reasons the Hispanic community is turning rapidly to support President Trump, support America First, support MAGA, ma'am?
Absolutely. If you look at some of the Texas races, I know Texas 28 has a really tight race. It's because those border towns, especially in the McAllen region, know firsthand what illegal immigration does to the Hispanic community.
Anna, talk to us. Why have you chosen to run? This is a tough race down there, and you're particularly going after Disney down in your district. I thought employed most of the people. Talk to us about what you're doing with Disney and why have you put them in the gun sights like the great governor down there, the free state of Florida, Ron DeSantis.
Well, I can tell you that my congressional seat is open, and because of our governor, we are actually in a redistricting war right now. But what I'm seeing happening in this country, especially with the left weaponizing race politics against the Hispanic demographic and the American people, I have to run for office, and I have to use my voice to fight these identity politics and these people destroying our country. Disney has gone after our governor, essentially going after our parents, and lied to the American people, stating that the state of Florida has passed a, quote, "don't say gay" bill. That has nothing to do with the legislation that Governor DeSantis had passed. And ultimately, Walt Disney would be rolling over in his grave right now. So the reason why we are going to Disney, the reason why we are protesting is because Disney needs to be reminded that they need to keep their hands off of our kids. If they want to get involved and talk to parents and say that they know more than parents do about raising their children, they are sadly mistaken, and we're going to be there to remind them of it.
So I want to make sure everybody has the details. You're putting on a rally at the Disney park, at Disney headquarters. Let's be specific. When's it going to take place? Because we want so many people to have your back on this.
Absolutely. So we are doing the protest on Friday from 5 to 8 p.m. It's going to be at that intersection. If you scan that QR code, you can also find it on my social media at Real Anna Paulina. We're asking parents to bring their kids, to bring signs, to meet us there. And ultimately, the reason, again, why we're doing this is because we are fighting back against Disney's woke agenda to indoctrinate kids and really pushing this creepy hypersexualization of kids that can't even really counter hit puberty yet. So it's very, very disturbing. But again, you can find more information about this as well on my website at votesapl.com. And if you want to donate, we'd greatly appreciate it.
One more time, your social media, Anna, because you're on fire 24 hours a day. How do people get to you on social media?
Absolutely. You can find me literally on any platform at Real Anna Paulina, or check out my campaign email and information at VotesAPL.
Anna, you're one of the reasons that we're turning this country around. I'll tell you, you're a great patriot and an American hero. So thank you so much for running for Congress, and thank you for coming into the War Room Battleground.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take a break. Boris is going to come back with me on the next. We're going to go to Georgia. We've got John Gordon who's running for the Attorney General down there. And as Boris knows, Boris spent a lot of time in Georgia trying to sort that mess out. We need a America First MAGA Attorney General. And of course, we got Eric Greitens. All next in the War Room. Boris Epshteyn, Stephen K. Bannon. We're going to be back in a moment.
War Room Battleground with Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, welcome back. Breaking news. Senator Murkowski in Alaska and Mitt Romney in Utah have both announced that they're going to vote to confirm Judge Brown Jackson. We're going to get more of that. Eric Greitens is going to join about the comments that Senator Blunt had. But now it's time to man the ramparts. Got a lot more work to do. But Romney and Murkowski, look, they joined Collins as affirmative votes, just breaking. We're going to get to all that. Boris, we'll hold this part, Boris, till we get to Eric Greitens. First off, this whole situation with Anna Paulina Luna and what they're doing at Disney, I think Disney doesn't understand how much they've triggered parents here.
No doubt about it, Steve. Disney has woken a monster they don't want to deal with, okay? And it's not a monster in one of their movies, okay? Disney has completely gone over their skis. And by the way, my little boy was watching Aladdin yesterday, and the first 15 seconds is some statement on screen about, oh, this is all wrong, and we're so sorry, and there's stereotypes in here. It's Aladdin, okay? So the point is that we discussed this last week. Disney has been going woke for a long time, even in their content, right? They've been ruining absolute American classics like Star Wars. So Disney's been going this way for a long time. But now, in the last week, to come out and say that they're going to be fighting against the duly elected government, legislature and governor of Florida for over an anti-grooming bill, effectively coming out as Disney is saying we're pro-grooming. They have stepped on a landmine, the kind of which they've never seen before. And by the way, always signal that noise for this audience. That right away, you asked me, well, what could happen now? My response was twofold. One, you could have the crowd response, right? You could have the grassroots upswell of disgust and voting with their feet. And then you could have the governor look at the special status that Disney enjoys. Look at all their tax breaks. Look at all their incentives, and say, you know what?
Well, there's
not so much.
It's like a nation's.
Let's play politics.
When Walt Disney came there back in the 50s to build this in the 60s, he carved out a nation state. It's like the Medicis up there in Florence, right? This is like Florence used to be in the in Italy. It's ridiculous. We're gonna get that real quickly. Give me a minute on Georgia. You spent as much time down there as anybody trying to get this mess straightened out from 3 November, which is still not straightened out. We got John Gordon coming up, who's running for Attorney General. How big a mess is in Georgia that he has to clean up, Boris Epshteyn?
It's an absolute disaster, Steve. 10 more seconds on Florida. I want to call on all patriots to join Anna Paulina Luna and what she's doing. Go to the event on Friday and continue to bring absolute and total heat on Disney and on all woke corporations, all across the country. In terms of Georgia, Georgia is likely, and it is a high bar, likely gets the award for the most failed, messiest, and corrupt election in 2020. Because what we already know from the images of the 148,000 ballots that are going to be, I believe, unsealed as a result of the ongoing lawsuit in Fulton County, what we've seen from the videos of the trunks being pulled out from under the table, what we've seen from affidavits, there's absolutely no doubt that President Trump won Georgia in 2020 and it was corruptly stolen by Democrats, and that Raffensperger and Kemp conspired with Stacey Abrams in that unconstitutional consent decree to give the election up, to give the election over to the Democrats. So that is why we need MAGA patriots like John Gordon to be elected Attorney General. That's why we need MAGA patriots all over the country, but specifically in Georgia, to straighten it out, because it is an absolute and total hot mess. And it's not just the Democrats, it's the rhinos who are making it even worse.
Yeah. Okay, let me go to John Gordon. You know, there's a tale in ancient Rome about the General Cincinnatus having retired and saving the Republic, retired, and then they had to call him back from the plow, had him calling back off his farm when he was older, and he returned to save the Republic again. John Gordon, you remind me of Cincinnatus. Why is a guy 69 years old? How bad a mess does it have to be to get a guy 69 years old to decide to throw his hat in the ring, as tough as elective politics is now, to run for the Attorney General in the great state of Georgia, sir?
Well, first of all, thank you, Steve, and Boris. It's just a pleasure and an honor to be with you. And it's what Boris said. It is a colossal mess. And for the last year, I have worked on that lawsuit that Boris referenced. Bob Shealy has brought the case, Jeffords versus the Board of Electors of Fulton County. And what the mainstream media will not tell you is that Judge Brian Amaro ruled that we had made out a prima facie case for fraud, and he ordered that the ballots, the absentee ballots, be unsealed in an unprecedented order and allow us to inspect them. Now, we never got that inspection because of legal haranguing from the county and from Chris Carr. Boris, you left out Chris Carr. He's the one who authored the consent decree, and he has to defend that now. And it is the indefensible, really, to even think that you could defend it. He created drop boxes. It was just a fiction that somebody came up with. They're instrumentalities for fraud. They did away with the signature verifications, and they sent out absentee ballots to anybody who could fog a mirror. There was no qualification at all, and it violates Georgia law. Chris Carr exceeded his authority. He violated the oath of office that he swore to uphold the constitutional laws of Georgia, and now it's time for him to be held accountable. And I'm going to do my best to send him home packing. And I hope the people of Georgia will elect me. And I will open an investigation into the 2020 elections. We will expose the truth, and we will hold the people that have done this accountable. That is my solemn promise.
John Gordon, here's what I don't understand, sir. A lot of the folks, I think are renamed, and I'll throw in Raffensperger, they're how did this happen under a Republican administration, sir?
It's a mystery that I can't answer. I get that question so often. You know, we've got a Republican governor, Republican attorney general, Republican secretary of state. I am clueless as to what their motivations are, what their thought processes were. But I can just tell you this: I've lived a long time, and I've seen pretty much it all. This is bewildering, and I'll just tell you, it does not feel right to me. And I'll just put it out there. These people act like men that have something to hide, and I don't know what it is, and I don't really care what it is. We're going to figure out what the truth is, and we're going to expose the truth, and then we're going to start holding people accountable.
You know, this is the whole reason in Georgia. I told you, I told Boris all the time, I said, something just doesn't feel right. There's something that just doesn't make sense down there, and somebody's got to get to the bottom of it. I just wanted, before we let you go, just take a second and go back what the ruling was from the judge, because I don't think that gets enough play about what he actually said, right? About what he actually said about what went on down there, sir.
Well, we got to take some depositions. We developed enough evidence in our case, even before the case really could get going good, that the judge ruled that we had made out a prima facie case for fraud, sufficient enough that he ordered that the absentee ballots be unsealed and allow us to inspect them. Unfortunately, we just never got to that point where we could inspect the ballots. That is where the smoking gun lies. We have got so many witnesses who testified independently that they saw a pallet full of untouched absentee ballots, unfolded, that were all scored identically and appeared to have been filled out by a machine rather than a human hand. Those ballots are in that stack of absentee ballots. We want to go and see them. I think that eventually we will. If the people of Georgia elect me Attorney General, I guarantee you that we will. And I'm also, before we wrap up, proud to have the endorsements of the former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, Ambassador Randy Evans, the 45th and 47th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, and Veterans for America First. So we are off and running.
No, the Trump endorsements, everything. How do people find out more about you, John Gordon, and how they find out more about your campaign?
They can go to www.jg, as in John Gordon, jg4ag.com. We're on Twitter and on Facebook, and we were on YouTube until we put up a totally factual video that YouTube took down and have tried to silence us. But they will not silence us. And I need everybody in your audience to consider, please make a donation so that we can wage this fight. $5.
John Gordon, I want to make sure we get it on the chat rooms, all the platforms. So our social media team, let's get it up now. JG for AG, John Gordon. John Gordon, you're a good man. We look forward to having you back on here. The primary is on May 24th, correct?
That is correct. Early voting starts May the 2nd. So we have got our track shoes on. I wake up at 4:30 every morning, and I go until my body won't go any longer. But that's usually 11 or 12 o'clock at night. And the response that we're getting is incredible. And I'll just close with this. People are coming up to me and saying, we had given up. You have restored our hope. And that's the best validation I could possibly get. And that's what keeps me going every day until midnight, and I can't go any longer.
Amen, brother. John Gordon, you're a good man. I want everybody to pile into that and find out more about your campaign, find out more about you. Thank you so much for coming to the War Room.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be on with you, Steve, and Boris. Good to be with you.
Boris, this is why we're going to take it back. You got people like Paulina Luna, you got Eric Greitens, you got John Gordon. The talent pool is just insane in MAGA, and we got the right policies. We have the momentum. These people have seen how radical. But Boris, I got to ask you before bringing Greitens. How has President Trump not gone insane in seeing what went on 3 November and the lack of rhino Republicans could get to the bottom of it? And nothing could be better than to have a good man like John Gordon's got to come essentially at 69 years old and do this, which, trust me, this is what Trump was almost 70. At 69, 70, you don't want to be running for elective office, how tough it is on you and how they try to destroy you. You got Kemp, you got Carr, you got Raffensperger, and at the same time, Romney and Murkowski, these people are worse than Democrats. Let me repeat this. The Democrats, we understand where they're coming from, and we understand why they're twisted.
Right.
They're not stabbing us in the back. One thing I do respect about Democrats, they're coming right in your grill, okay? I disagree with all of it, and our task and purpose is to destroy the Democratic Party root and branch. But everybody in this audience that's given a nickel, that's rang a doorbell, that's made a phone call, and you see this Republican Party is controlled opposition. They are worse. They're quislings. How could you possibly? It's not about, and they're all saying about her qualification. It is not about Judge Jackson's qualification. She is highly, highly, highly qualified. In fact, she's so highly qualified for her academic background, who she clerked for, the law firm she worked for, the work that she's done. She's sitting on the D.C. appellate court for a lifetime appointment, which is right below the Supreme Court. Her qualifications are virtually unparalleled. That actually highlights her lack of judgment, in particular in this area of child and baby rape and torture. Right. And let's be blunt, that's what it was. But to see, I don't know, you hear Gordon, who's such a good man, he walks through it, Boris. I know you've been working on this case forever down there. You got to, I don't know how President Trump hasn't gone insane on this. How could you see the stealing in Arizona? How could you see the stealing in Wisconsin? How could you see the stealing of this in Georgia? How could you see the stealing of this in Pennsylvania? Hey, I don't even include Michigan and Nevada, which are also awful. Nevada may be the worst. How could you sit there and see it all and know you had so many Republicans that could actually put this to bed and make sure that we actually got the country back on track? And every day you got to have John Gordon come out of retirement to take these guys on in a primary. I can't imagine how Trump hasn't gone nuts about this.
Well, listen, here's the bottom line, Steve. That's why we continue to fight all across the country, continuing to fight in Georgia, not going to rest until we have those 148,000 ballots unsealed, continuing to fight in Pennsylvania to get to a full forensic investigation, continuing to fight in Arizona where there is a resolution that's been proposed to decertify. And now we have to keep the power on, have to keep the pressure on Rusty Bowers to put it on the floor. Continue to fight in Wisconsin where Judge Gableman's interim report has given even more proof of the fact that Wisconsin was stolen in 2020 and has stated that decertification absolutely is possible and is constitutional. And there's a resolution to be certified there as well from Ramthun. So as we go through these states, it is absolutely vital for us to not give an inch, just like we haven't given an inch on redistricting. We are not giving an inch to Disney. We have to stand tall and continue the fight on 3 November because that is the only choice. And I do have to applaud John Gordon for coming out of retirement in Georgia saying, I'm going to keep fighting. And Governor Greitens, who's been all over the country, including in Arizona, putting up the fight, continuing to stand strong on election integrity, but not just going forward to get to the bottom of 2020.
Yeah. 2020. Let me bring in Commander Greitens right now. Commander Greitens, how would you vote in the confirmation of Judge Brown Jackson, sir?
I would vote no. Absolutely no, Steve. And it is absolutely disgusting to watch rhinos continue to stab the American people in the back. You've got Romney and Murkowski who are now turning. We should be saying as Republicans, but really as proud MAGA patriots, make this clear. This is an illegitimate president putting a radical on the Supreme Court, a radical with an abhorrent record of giving leniency to some of the worst criminals who engage in child torture. That is the very clear record. And that's what happens when you have an illegitimate president. And unfortunately, that's what happens when you have rhino corruption and cowardice that will not stand up for the most important fights for the American people.
You know, you got the Murkowski operation. The Palin's been fighting for years up in Alaska, and Kelly Chewbacca's fighting it now. We're going to try to get Kelly on tomorrow. You got the whole Romney situation out in Utah. You know how powerful that family is out there. Here's where I don't understand, brother. You got to help me out here. Blunt. This is not about Judge Jackson's qualification. You're a Rhodes Scholar. Judge Jackson's qualified, no doubt about it. She's got all the qualifications and intellectual capacity you need. This is not a question about her intellectual capacity or qualification. She's highly qualified. This is about her judgment on a topic that's so vital to the American family. But what is Blunt doing? I don't get what these rhinos do this weekend on the TV show. Greitens, so help me think this through, Greitens. So tell me about Blunt.
It makes no sense. He said that this was a high point for the country. An illegitimate president putting a radical with an abhorrent record on the bench is not a high point for the country. But unfortunately, what we see time and time again, whether they're voting with the leftists and voting with Biden on the Green New Deal, or they're going on mainstream media to try and cover up how terrible this is, we see rhinos continue to stab the American people in the back. And it happens all over the country. It also happens in a state like Missouri. We've been here talking about the fight that we are putting up to make sure in Missouri that we get a 7-to-1 map. That's a congressional map with 7 Republicans and 1 Democrat. We've got a Republican governor and Republican supermajorities. But what happens? The rhinos sell out and they're pushing a 5-3-6-2 map. Instead, they're giving 2 congressional seats for a decade, 2 congressional seats to Nancy Pelosi and the likes of AOC. It is terrible. And it's one of the reasons why American patriots across Missouri and across this country are standing up and they're saying no more to the rhinos. It's one of the reasons, Steve, why I was honored to be the first candidate in the country to say when I'm elected to the U.S. Senate, I'm voting for new America First leadership. We're getting rid of Mitch McConnell. We need strong America First leadership to oppose the Democrats. No more rhinos.
Commander Greitens, how do people find out more about you and your campaign, and how they follow you on social media?
Sir, we'd be honored to have everybody come out and join us. We are at ericgreitens.com. It's EricGreitens.com. You can follow us on all the social platforms at Eric Greitens. And please do come out and join us. And I've been saying to everybody, if you're on the sidelines, you're on the wrong side. We need every patriot to get involved, get engaged in this race, and more importantly, in this larger effort to revive the Republic and to take our country back. And we're going to get it done, Steve.
Commander Greitens, thank you very much. We definitely need you in the Senate, no doubt about it.
Yes, sir.
Boris, we got about a minute left. I think this is what Trump fights every day.
Right.
I mean, think about his first term with this mess. Boris, help me out here, brother. We got about a minute. How did Murkowski and Romney and Collins, with the information they had from Hawley and Cruz and Blackburn and Cotton, these are not fire breathers, right? These are pretty even-handed, middle-of-the-road guys. Maybe Hawley's a little bit more populist, but these are all smart lawyers, all Ivy League grads, asking questions that were not answered, or an evasive witness, as Lindsey Graham said. Give me 30 seconds on how the rhinos do this, sir.
Because what used to be an ability to disagree with another part of the Republican Party by the squished Republicans has now just turned them into Democrats. They're gone. That's it. Romney and Murkowski should not be in the Republican caucus any longer. I'm going to be on record right now. How can they be? If they're voting for somebody whose lack of judgment is so drastic on such a vital issue as child rape and child torture, what room do we have for them in the Republican Party? You know, Murkowski's already done this thing once with Sharon Independent. Just be gone, okay? Romney hasn't really been a Republican ever, okay? And yes, sure, you know, we wanted him over Obama in 2012.
Yeah.
But looking backward, can you really say that Mitt Romney is a real Republican?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
MAGA
Boris,
only in our party.
We got to bounce. We'll see you tomorrow. Back here at the War Room at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. See you then.